I am shocked. So, I suppose not all Black Lives matters, actually. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. Welcome to Sire's Domain, and it's so good to see you guys catching up with me today. Now, today I'm going to be talking about that infamous interview between Don Lemon and Terry Crews on CNN. Now, this interview has sparked a lot of controversial statements, talks, and everything, so I thought I'd dive into it and give you my own little 2 cents about the video. So, Terry Crews put out a tweet. "If you're a child of God, you are my brother and sister. I have family of every race, creed, and ideology. We must ensure Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into Black Lives Better." He also backed himself up with tweets explaining himself, but the tweets were not enough to explain himself really. So he actually went to CNN to grant Don Lemon an interview. Now, this interview has sparked a lot of debate amongst people. There are people who are on the side of Don Lemon, and they are very much against Terry Crews, especially Black people. Anyways, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at the clip, and then I'm going to give you my own 2 cents after I play that clip. But before I do, I want to quickly suggest to you guys that if you have been enjoying videos and coming back to my videos, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that bell notification, and also share the video with your friends as well, because this is definitely going to help my massive, big channel of about 60 people or so. Now, without further ado, and with that out the way, cover me, I'm going in.
There are some very, militant type forces in Black Lives Matter. And what I was issuing was a warning. It's one of those things where I've been a part of different groups, I've been a part of different things, and you see how extremes can really can go far and can go wild. And then when you issue a warning, and when a warning is seen as detrimental to the movement, how can you ever have checks and balances? And when you have the leaders of the Black Lives Movement who are now talking about, if we don't get our demands, we're going to burn it down. Other Black people who are talking about working with other whites and other races, they're being viewed as sellouts or called Uncle Toms. You start to understand that you are now being controlled. You're not being treated as loved. You're actually being controlled. Someone wants to control the narrative. And I viewed it as a very dangerous self-righteousness that was developing that really viewed themselves as better. It was almost a supremacist move.
You think Black Lives Matter is, you said you think it's an extreme movement?
When you look at the city of Chicago, there are 9 children who've died by gun violence, by black on black gun violence, from June 20th all the way to today. And you're talking about even with the Atlanta child murders, there were 28 kids who died in 2 years. You're talking about a month, and you have 9 Black kids, and the Black Lives Matter movement has said nothing about this.
What does that have to do with equality, though, Terry? I don't understand what that has to do with equality, because listen, there's crime. There are people in those communities those people aren't just being nonchalant about gun violence. I lived in Chicago. There are many people who are working in those communities to try to get rid of the gun violence. The gun culture in this country is prevalent, but I don't understand what that has to do with a movement that's for equality for Black people. It's not mutually exclusive that if you care about equality for Black people, that somehow you're going to stop random violence or, unfortunately, kids from being shot. It just seems like apples and oranges.
Okay, so if you look at those two views, from Terry's point of view, Terry's looking at the angle that he's scared that this thing might become extremist movement. And of a truth, if you really look at the Black Lives Matter movement, if you are looking at the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement, they are putting out some extremist tweets. Take, for instance, this tweet from Sean King. "Yes, I think that the statue of the white European they claim is Jesus should also come down. They are a form of white supremacy, always have been. In the Bible, when the family of Jesus wanted to hide and blend in, guess where they went? Egypt, not Denmark. Tear them down." For Confederate statues, I really don't mind. But when you're talking about Jesus Christ, when it comes to Jesus Christ, how is a white statue of Jesus Christ a symbol of white supremacy? When you go to Asia, you would see statues of Asian-looking Jesus Christ. If you go to Jamaica, you're going to see a Jamaican-looking statue of Jesus Christ. So are you trying to tell me that in Asia, that statue of an Asian Jesus Christ is Asian supremacy? Or are you trying to tell me that statues of or paintings of Jesus Christ that looks like a Rastafarian is also a symbol of Jamaican supremacists? Because I don't understand. Like I don't understand what has that got to do with police brutality and what has that got to do with equality. So that was Terry's first concern. The second concern is the fact that when it comes to the black community in America, there's a lot going on. So Terry was talking about the deaths that have been happening in Chicago and Atlanta, where little kids are dying and the mothers are crying for a voice that people should speak on their behalf. To which he got met by a response from Don Lemon saying that, well, that is a movement that is different from the Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Lives Matter is only concerned with black lives that die as a result of police brutality, and they are also fighting for equality. Now, Terry tried to respond to that, but what did Don Lemon do? He kind of like shut him off. He was talking over him as Terry was trying to talk. Now, this part of the interview I really didn't like. And this is something that Don Lemon is used to doing. He's always shutting people off when he doesn't want to hear what they are saying.
But when you look at the organization, police brutality is not the only thing they're talking about.
I know that. I agree, but that's not what the Black Lives Matter movement is about, Terry. Black Lives Matter is about police brutality and about criminal justice. It's not about what happens in communities when it comes to crime.
If you don't want people to air their personal opinion on your platform, then don't bring them to your platform. It's as simple as that. Okay, so I didn't like the fact that Don Lemon did that. Of course, Don Lemon in partial times was right because the essence of Black Lives Matter initially was the fact that they were trying to fight against police brutality, was the fact that they were trying to fight for equal rights. But their demand has expanded since then, which is why Terry was trying to say that, no, it is not about that. It's getting more than that on their website. It's also getting more than that on the tweets from their leaders, like pulling down statues of Jesus Christ. They're also tweeting about defunding the police. It's also on their demands. Now, currently, if you go and check the Black Lives Matter movement, if you Google what their demands are, there are about 6 in nature. How those 6 demands are going to be met, I have no clue. But here they are. Number 1, end the war on black people. What war? I have no idea, but let's move on. Number 2, reparations for past and continuing harms. Reparation, as it were, Black Lives Matter has already raised more than $350 million, according to the Washington Post. Now, people are curious as to where the funds are being diverted to because nobody knows. Now, even one of the Black Lives Matter movement leaders who is responsible for these funds coming in, or who's one of the people who's responsible for the fund, has refused in a Reddit interview to actually share that information as to where it's going to go to. Next demand, divestment from the institution that criminalizes, cages, and harm black people, and investment in the education, health, and safety of black people. Now, when it comes to this part of the demand, you need to include other people because
about MLK, you talk about Nelson Mandela, and even Malcolm X, they all realized that you had to have a non-racial component to these kind of movements, or there will be resentment. There will be get back. There will be, one of these people will tend to, listen, I don't want to move from one oppressor to the next.
These institutions that you are talking about that is mistreating and caging black people is also caging Hispanics, is also caging white people, is also caging Asians. If you commit a crime, you end up in a cage. So when you're pushing this sort of movement, you need to add a little bit of element of non-racial bias as well, because blacks are not the only ones that are suffering this. Blacks are not the only ones that are also suffering police brutality. According to records, whites are also suffering from police brutality, and so are Asians, and so are Hispanics in America. Next, economic justice for all and reconstruction of the economy to ensure our communities have collective ownership, not merely access. Collective ownership of what? If you want your communities to have collective ownership, then get people from your community who have made it to invest back in your community. You want some reinvestments in the hood, and you want things that should be owned by black people. Do you think that when black people actually make money, they would reinvest in black neighborhoods? I don't think so. Since this Black Lives Matter movement started, a lot of black-owned businesses have not been protected. They have been destroyed. So would you blame them if they don't want to reinvest in the neighborhood? But I don't know exactly what they are asking for there. So if somebody has a better information or can shed better light on this particular demand, better than I can, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will be standing corrected. Number 5, community control of the laws, institutions, and policies that most impact us. In other words, community control. Well, you can simply have that by voting in a black person into positions that are in control of these laws and legislations that are made in your cities. Simply vote the people that you think should have the right control. But will you vote for the people that you feel can actually help you with the full control? Asking for a direct control and saying that, look, a certain position of power or political power should be given to a person because of the color of their race seems like supremacist to me. But this is one of the worries that Terry was talking about, because they are not talking about doing what's right anymore. They're saying, hand me the power because I'm black. That's what I can get from this particular demand. Let's move on to number 6. Independent black political power and self-determination in all areas of society. Feels like number 5 and number 6 are the same thing. We want power. We want you to hand us power, whether we deserve it or not. Just hand us power because we're black. Now, when you take a look at this demand, doesn't it start to make sense that somebody like Terry would say, let's not let Black Lives Matter turn into Black Life Better? Now, how does this actually stand in line with the sort of things that Martin Luther King was saying in the past when he said, do not judge a person by the color of their skin, but by the contents of their character. This was his wish, that his children would be looked upon, not by the color of their skin, but the contents of their character. Shouldn't that particular notion or that particular quote be at work here, whereby you are saying we want to put people in position of power because of what we feel they can do and not because of the color of their skin? I don't know. Like I said, this is a very, very touchy subject. But then again, let's continue back into the discussions. Now, Don Lemon made an argument that said, if you're pushing a movement for cancer matters, for instance, and then somebody else comes in, like Terry, and says HIV matters, then that's a totally different movement. There should be people that should handle HIV. But that's not what Terry is saying. And Terry didn't really get a chance to respond because he spoke over Terry and dismissed Terry from the interview. But this would have been my personal response to Don Lemon if he had said that. What I would have said is this: Don Lemon, if you're pushing a movement that says cancer matters, then I would state to you that when it comes to cancer, there's prostate cancer, there's breast cancer, there's lung cancer, there's chest cancer, there's liver cancer, there's kidney cancer, there's skin cancer. So if you're pushing a movement that says cancer matters, the right analogy should be this: every single time you're talking about cancer, you're only talking about skin cancer, breast cancer, or you're talking about lung cancer. What about prostate cancer? What about liver cancer? Or what about kidney cancer? Doesn't kidney cancer matter as well? Or isn't kidney cancer part of cancer? So shouldn't it be all cancer matters? This is the type of question that Terry is trying to ask. If you're talking about Black Lives Matter in general, and remember, Terry didn't say anything against the Black Lives Matter movement. He said it's a noble mantra. It's a good mantra, which it is. But where they're taking it to these days is what is posing or causing for worries. It stands that risk of getting out of hand, from turning into a noble mantra and get hijacked and turn into something else. Now, you guys let me know what you think about the Black Lives Matter movement in general. Is it noble? Is it going to stay the course? Or do you think it's already starting to stray from its course and it's turning into something else? What do you think about Terry's interview as well as Don Lemon's views? Should all Black Lives matter? Or should Black life only matter when a black man or black woman gets killed by cop or dies under cop custody? Get down in the comment section below and let me know. So I want to quickly remind you guys to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this video with your friend. And don't forget to ding that bell for notification, because this would really help the channel out. I'm going to be catching you guys on the next one. Remember to look out for each other and look after each other. Peace to everybody, and Saya's out.